The number is 760-416-8475. Basically, I'm going to be talking today about the real estate market and what's going on in the purchase and refinance markets today. And a couple things that are going on for sure. In a couple different sections, we're going to be talking about per diems and the difference between closing and closing on time. Now, this is definitely a relevant issue for what's going on in the real estate market. If you're a real estate agent or a buyer in the market, you definitely want to know about per diems and what's going on. So if you're out there, real estate agents, and you have experienced something like this, I'd definitely like to hear from you and what some of your experiences are, as I'm definitely finding out some of mine, and going to be talking to you a little bit about Mortgage 101, as well as FHA loans and what's going on, some news that is going on right now with HVCC, Home Valuation Code of Conduct, and the changes in the appraisal industry as well. Then later on, I'm going to be talking about the first-time home buyer tax credit, which is definitely relevant, and I want to give you an opportunity to get as much information about that as possible, because it's definitely hard-hitting news and people are talking about it, and there's a timeline going on here, and then what you need to know for approval. So I'd just like to jump in right now regarding the per diems. Now, if you have bought a property and you're in escrow and you're buying a foreclosure or a short sale, there is something that's kind of different in this market, and it's called a per diem. Now, a per diem is something that you get charged if you go over the escrow period. Let's say that you're due to close on a specific date, and for whatever reason, the escrow instructions are late, or your preliminary title report comes in late, or the mortgage doesn't get closed on time. Typically, something is called the per diem gets added on to a certain amount, a dollar amount, let's call it $50 a day, and that's based on the overage if you have to extend your escrow time. And so I'm definitely finding that out a lot, and want to hear from you out there if you've heard anything about the per diems. If you're a buyer, you're nervous about the per diems, there's definitely a lot going on here, and what I want to kind of talk to you about today is that in my experience, what I'm finding is that more than not, we're able to actually get the per diems waived, but it's been my experience of recently that a lot of the banks are actually starting to enforce those per diems, and I want to hear from you guys to see, are you getting the per diems waived? Have you had a lot of experience? Have you had a lot of experiences without getting the per diems waived? What's going on out there? Are you a buyer and you had to pay the per diems? I'm very interested to see what's going on, because I know that it's definitely a much bigger topic than just my market, and I know that it's happening a lot. But one thing that I definitely want to focus on is the difference between closing your transaction and closing on time, because as we know, there's definitely a lot of truth in what's going on out there in the media about how difficult the mortgage market is. But what you're not hearing is that most lenders are still getting them done. Now, from the platform that I work at, we have 100% control over the transaction, but we still have certain things and obstacles that we have to overcome, and credit, income, and assets, and definitely the appraisal issues that are going on, making sure that we have the value to cover the secured property against the collateral of the property, make sure that the value is there for the loan, and that's definitely a big topic and a big issue. But I want to hear from you guys. So if you guys are listening, please give me a call at 760-416-8475. Okay, so we all know that some of the big four banks are taking longer than expected to get their loans approved and move through the pipeline. Now, we know this for Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase. It's definitely an issue out there to get the deals done quickly. I'm hearing of escrow times of 45, 60, 75 days, even for a refinance transaction. And so what has your experience been? Has it taken longer than normal to get your deal done? What are some of what are the experiences that you've run into that have caused the mortgage process to slow down? And maybe I can offer some insight or some advice on how to change those things up front so they can go through a little bit smoother. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that. Also, Mortgage 101. If you check out www.seanlaroutv.com, I've got a seminar posted on my YouTube channel, and it's got a bunch of different topics there related to financing mortgages in today's market, and a bunch of different things that I'll be covering: USDA loans, FHA, VA loans, Canadian Foreign National Financing. Yes, it's still available. We're still doing it. Those programs are out there. And I've also found out that there are some new loan programs coming back to the market. So it seems like Freddie and Fannie are opening the gates a little bit on some of the financing transactions, and we're having a good opportunity on it. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard of this yet, and I just wanted to point this out just for a little humor about what's going on in the market, and maybe you might not find it very humorous, but I was looking on the internet today about some mortgage news and some things that are happening in the market. And one of the things that I found was an article about this lady who, and I don't know if you guys have heard this, but a bank actually sent her house to auction, and she was actually sent to auction. Somebody bought her home, and there was a notice on her door that she was actually kicked out of the house. And it was a mistake from the county. I think this happened in Florida. And what I'm trying to say here is that it's not necessarily, there's a lot of information going on, and the banks are definitely bombarded in the loan modifications, short sale processing, trying to get all of the new purchase and refinance transactions done. And there are definitely some mistakes out there, and they are being made, but what can we do to correct those? And so if you guys have heard about that or had a similar situation, I definitely want to hear from you guys. So it's a crazy market out there, but myself and Franklin Loan Center are getting it done with all of the refinance and purchase transactions. And the Per Diems is definitely one of the most important things that's going on right now, because I don't know, from my experience, it seems like the listing agents and the banks are definitely willing to work with you as long as we're getting the deal through the pipeline. But I want to hear from you. So if you guys are out there, give me a call at the studio, 760-416-8475. This is knewsradio.com and the Desert's News Talk Superstation.